In previous module, we said certain reactions give out energy and certain reactions require energy to proceed. These two types of reactions which require energy are called endothermic or endergonic reactions. In these type of reactions, energy has to be provided to the system in order for reaction to proceed in the forward direction. Exergonic reactions are the ones which release energy. In these reactions or in these processes, energy is released from the system. In case where energy has to be provided to the system or endergonic reactions, the value of delta G is a positive number. The reactions which are exergonic, they release energy. In this case, the delta G is a negative number. We can understand these principles using a simple example: a ball lying on the ground. In order for a ball to go up to the mountain, a little mound, we have to provide energy to the ball. We have to push the ball, and we have to provide energy so the ball rolls up the mound. If the ball is already lying on the mound, it will fall down, it will roll down on its own. If we use this analogy to understand reactions, there are two types of reactions. In one type of reactions, the products are at a higher energy level, and when reaction occurs, the products, when the reactants are converted to products, the products are at a lower energy level, so the energy is released from the system. The exothermic reactions or exergonic reactions. In the other case, endothermic or endergonic reactions, the products are at a lower energy level, and the reactants are at lower energy level, and products are at a higher energy level. We have to provide energy to the products so they become reactants. In biology, these reactions are not always one-sided. If a reactant can become product, the product can also become the reactant. So these are reversible reactions. Let's look at a hypothetical example. A is converting into B. B can also convert to A. Here, this process is exergonic. It is releasing energy. In this case, the A is being converted into B. How much A gets converted into B and how much B gets converted into A, this is a function of delta G, free energy. At equilibrium, at point in which concentration of A and concentration of B is constant, the amount or the number of A molecules or A atoms which are converting into B atoms is the same as the B atoms getting converted into A atoms or A molecules. So the total number of molecules at equilibrium does not change. In our case, at equilibrium, there is 30% of the molecules in our system are A, and 70% of the molecules are B. So conversion of A into B is a reaction which is exothermic. It has a minus delta G. The value of delta G is in a minus number. Because energy is being released, that is why A has a smaller amount in our reaction tube as compared with the B molecule. This is a process in which both reactants and products can interconvert. Let's look at actual example of this. For example, glucose 1-phosphate, if we take this molecule and we put it in a system, in a water, it automatically converts into glucose 6-phosphate. In fact, 95% of glucose 1-phosphate will convert into glucose 6-phosphate. This happens on its own because the value of delta G is a negative number. What determines that how many molecules of glucose 1-phosphate get converted into glucose 6-phosphate? It is the value of delta G. If the delta G is a larger number, most of the reactants will be converted into products. If the delta G is a small negative number, then we will have higher amounts of products. Not all the reactants will get converted into products. Majority of the reactants will stay reactants. However, we'll have small amounts of products made if the delta G is a small negative number. And if a delta G is positive number, A will not convert into, or glucose 1-phosphate will not convert into glucose 6-phosphate unless and until we provide energy to the system. So basically at equilibrium, the number of molecules of glucose 1-phosphate and glucose 6-phosphate is constant. It does not mean that individual molecules cannot change. So if one molecule of glucose 1-phosphate gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate at any given time, this one molecule of glucose 6-phosphate will also get converted into glucose 1-phosphate. So this is the delta G for this reaction is minus 1.7 kilocalories per mole. And this happens at a specific temperature and a specific molarity and pH. Because logically, if we think about it, if the process of glucose 1-phosphate getting converted into glucose 6-phosphate is exothermic, why don't all the glucose 1-phosphate molecules convert into glucose 6-phosphate, since they are at a lower energy state? And we have said processes, when the reactants are at higher energy state than the products, this process happens on its own. However, we are looking at the system at a specific temperature. I'll tell you later how temperature plays a role in determining the equilibrium point. Anyways, for now, I would like to re-emphasize that at equilibrium, amount of reactant and the product molecules stays the same. It's a constant. Although the individual molecules keep changing from one form from reactants to products. At this state, delta G is 0.